Okay, it's the bewitching hour. Everything on?
You're good.
Okay. Welcome to the Board of Park Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, December 7th. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers?
Here.
Mr. Emmerich?
Here.
Mrs. Westphal? Here.
Okay, we have our minutes before us of our November 2nd meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions of those minutes?
None here.
Is that a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there
I'll
a
second it.
Second, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, then they stand approved. Reports. Mr. Drake, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Do you have anything to add to your report, sir?
Nothing in particular to the report. I think that's a pretty good indication and snapshot of things that we accomplished this last month. I will add, and we've received a lot of inquiries about tree removals along Ridge Avenue. So in fact, I got another email from Jordan just a little bit ago. So I just wanted to touch on that. We are very visible out there. There are a number of trees coming down along Ridge Avenue on the east side of Ridge between Main Street and McCaig Avenue. And so this is ahead of a power line project that AES is going to be putting a new power line in ahead of the West Main Street widening project. So it's all tied into the West Main widening project. That power line, that transmission line had to be rerouted ahead of that, so that eventually all that overhead transmission wires and communication lines and cable and so forth is all going to be gone. Communication and
It's going to be buried along Ridge then?
no, I'm sorry. The AES line will be overhead. The communication and cable lines along West Main will go underground. They're building the duct bank underground to continue those underground. So the AES line will be overhead. Part of it's already been built into the skate park. We had, the board had approved that earlier this year. That section of line is already rerouted into the skate park and then continuing west, kind of along the back edge of the properties going out West Main Street. And then the line that's going to be built along Ridge will come down South Ridge and then turn up McCaig, heading towards South Dorset to feed kind of the south end of South Dorset. So that's why we were out there. It is part of a city project. We had questions about why the park department was involved in that. I had several meetings through the summer with our engineering department as well as representatives from AES. And we evaluated the entire area to try to find what would be the least impactful to the trees and to existing infrastructure. And that route was, those two routes through the skate park and then down South Ridge were planned. So that's what's going on there. I do want to point out and emphasize we still are Tree City USA. Every time we get somebody seeing trees come down, they worry about that. We did obtain Tree City USA recognition again for 2021. We'll continue to do that. Total impact of trees along Ridge was 17 trees. So a few of those needed to come out anyway. There were a few that were in really bad shape. So the total loss of trees is negligible in those terms, and we always plant way more. I think our total planting this year was like 88 trees compared to the 17 we lost on Ridge for this project. So
Once the project is complete, is there any intention of replanting saplings there, or is that something that I know that you can do, right?
Yeah, so it's always that conflict with trees and power lines, and for a long time, AES, formerly DPNL, had the Right Tree, Right Place grant opportunities, and we approached them about that. For this particular project, they don't want any trees under that power line, even low-growing trees that would never. The whole premise of Right Tree, Right Place was you take out the trees that impact the power line, the big shade trees, replace them with ornamental flowering trees that will never grow into the power line. They did not want to do that on this particular project. So I don't think that doesn't look like it's going to be an option. Now, to say that homeowners couldn't still plant trees in their front yard on the back side of the sidewalk, that could still be a possibility. And again, we would work with them to make sure it would be trees that would never get into the power line. But as far as the curb lawn itself and that right of way, there won't be trees going back.
See, a lot of homeowners believe that they own between the sidewalk and the street, and that's not the case.
All part of the street right away.
Street right away has usually been on the other side of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
You may not be able to answer this question, but why? And I know it's part of the widening of 41, but they had telephone poles poles and everything there already. Why do they need new ones?
Those are gonna go away. The ones going out 41, all that overhead, from my understanding, and Mrs. Rhodes is.
Well, I understand along 41, but why down Ridge? Why do they have to replace those telephone poles?
Oh, because the size of the transmission line. I'm sorry, I wasn't understanding what you were saying. So the poles that are there now are mostly for the street light lights and the street light wires, which is a much lighter, just a single wire, single drop going to each street light. There is one small transmission line that goes up to Overfield, and it's only a 4 kV line, so it's a very low voltage in terms of electricity that's just feeding Overfield School up on the hill. The rest of those are just street light wires. So this is going to be a much heavier transmission line, much higher voltage, and so it requires the larger poles than what's there
Gotcha.
currently.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you. Any
And
other
that's
questions?
all I would have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Drake. Mr. Seiler, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Do you have anything to add to your report, sir?
Just I'd like to thank Jeremy, provided us with some staff member the other evening to help us with some changeover for an event we had at the building. We've been challenged with some staffing, part-time staffing issues, as everyone is currently. So the changeovers for our events have been a little more challenging from that regard, but he provided us with someone to help us with a changeover last Thursday evening, so we appreciate that. That's all I have.
Any questions of Mr. Seiler? I noticed that on March 31, you've got Whiskey Myers, and I kind of prefer Evan Williams whiskey, but
That's fine.
I've never heard of Whiskey Myers
Whatever you
before.
prefer is fine.
What is Whiskey Myers?
It is a southern rock country type act, and actually it's already sold out.
Oh, that's great. That's super.
Can't believe it.
Yeah. Good.
I think it's my understanding they are on,
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone. If you watch Yellowstone, they're a band on Yellowstone.
So I'll be doggone. Okay. Well, thank you. Mr. Brewer, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Do you have anything to add to your report?
Just want to extend a thank you to all the full-time and part-time staff at Miami Shores and the Shoreline. Just as we close 2021, just thank them for all their hard work and dedication for another great year.
What are you doing at all to promote the rental of the place?
Right now, I mean, we haven't, it's not something that we have really gone about doing in terms of that. And I think we'll have to sit down both with Dave Kerg and with Darlene to see kind of where they want to go with that. I mean, we've got a few groups that are still using the space throughout the winter, but it's not been something that we've been actively advertising right now.
Okay. Have you contacted like the Troy Chamber of Commerce and other people that might be receiving inquiries concerning rentals for parties, things like that?
Not at this time, we haven't, so.
It seems to me, I know that when we did the improvements out there, we were talking about doing catering events and things of that nature. And it seems that maybe in the future, we'll want to go ahead and extend that a little bit farther.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's something that's worth looking into.
Anything to help the bottom line. Okay, any questions, Mr. Brewer? I don't have any planning commission report. Mr. Brewer, you have on the agenda here a review and consideration of approval of golf fees for 2022. You want to go ahead and take that report?
Yes, sir. So there, if you look in your packet there, I've just provided kind of the proposed changes for 2022 in comparison with 2021. So if you go to the 2022 Miami Shores golf fees, you'll see those proposed changes highlighted in yellow. There's not a lot proposed changes there. The first one would be just a small reduction in fees on the husband and wife full membership. We actually, the reason for that is maybe just to incentivize that membership a little bit more. It's not one that has been a seller for us in the past, and it maybe, I think the price point there is probably just a tiny bit too high for people not perceiving that as enough of a value. So just decreasing that a little bit to maybe try to incentivize the sale of that pass.
How many do you have now? husband and wife passed?
Well, the only ones that we have are actually on our senior husband and wife. We did not sell, it just hasn't been a pass that has sold for us. And so as we're getting, especially now, quite a bit of growth in the last 2 years, and in particular, we're getting a little bit more into the, the female segment there, which has been, just across the board in golf, that's getting a little bit higher. Now would be a good time to try to push that a little bit.
Let me tell you my reasoning and my logic. It's,
Sure.
There's always a tenseness between, a competition between memberships and rounds played, okay? The more rounds played, the more maintenance you have to have on your golf course, the more destruction to your golf course by golfers.
Sure.
So memberships, of course, permit them to go and play as much as they want. So at one point in time, we were even talking about doing away with memberships.
Right.
And the profit point is at your daily greens fees. That makes a lot more money for us than a membership. So rather than reducing full memberships, especially if you're not using them, it's like, don't we want to just get rid of them?
I think that's a worthy consideration there. I think in this point, we could either sort of get rid of that particular membership, or it may be. It is a fine balance there, because you do want the, at least in my opinion, you want the loyalty of membership, of people seeing your course as their home, and so I wouldn't agree with the concept of doing away with memberships entirely, but I agree that there's a balance point there. This is a membership where, again, even if we were to sell, one or two of these, this was just an idea to perhaps sell one or two of them. That's probably what it's going to amount to. So
And that's why I asked the question as to how many we have out there right now, husband and wife memberships.
Yeah, and in this category, 0 right now.
We don't have any right now?
No,
And it's only saving $100, right?
it's a reduction of $75, yeah, for the year.
I guess my position is I don't want to encourage memberships. Way back when I first started, many years ago, we had full memberships and we had daily greens fees. We didn't even have the Pass Plus. Pass Plus was instituted because we wanted more money coming in, and that helped our bottom line.
Yeah.
Okay. The full memberships, I was hoping over time to try to start weeding those things out and terminating those. And if we don't have anybody in the husband-wife category right now, I just assume not have it. I mean, I don't know what your positions are.
I mean, I kind of like the idea of trying to attract more members, but understand that, if no one's using it, is it even worth having out there or putting out there? I mean, is there just a day of the week you could offer a special for a husband and wife or something like that, or maybe a special on an individual, one-time thing versus having the pass out there? Honestly, it doesn't seem like it's that impactful one way or another, but to me, I think less options on the card, kind of push them to one category. So, just from a nitpicky cleanliness thing, it's like if you only have 5 options, they're going to pick one of 5. But if you have 15, you're going to spread them out, right? So,
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. That's just a lot of jabber in there, but I don't know. Maybe you can add them to have a special day of the week or something like that. If you don't want to go with the full membership option.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I would
passionate about it.
I would only add to that people have those options, obviously, and many of our people who would even consider that category would already be utilizing those fees or options, I
Why
should
don't you continue with the rest of the changes? And I'll
Sure.
come back to that.
So there was, we have, 2 different weekday specials there, one for senior military junior. So the proposal there is just to increase that $1 from 26 to 27, and then to do the same for the regular weekday special, increasing that from 29 to 30. That really came about, is just kind of keeping us in line with what some other local area courses already did in 2021. So that would, particularly, Castle Hills and Homestead, probably 2 of our most local courses that would be kind of in our category are at those exact price points that's being proposed. number 4, in terms of single cart requests, that's as we are now, or at least hopefully getting onto the other side of COVID, we didn't really have that as a option. We made that an option last year, just for people who may still be uncomfortable riding in a golf cart with another person. So as I would anticipate that, and it already has dwindled pretty dramatically, and so I'm just proposing that we would have a flat $5 fee if somebody wanted to ride by themselves, in addition to regular cart fees.
Okay, so in addition to that then,
Yeah, just getting rid of a member versus non-member distinction.
gotcha.
The 5th one there and the 6th one are just increasing the medium and large range baskets from $5 to $5.50 and from $7 to $7.50. There's some of that's just trying to keep up with costs of maintaining the range. So seed shortage will be pretty big in 2022.
Is
So
that right?
yeah, there's going to be a pretty substantial increase for seed. Not that that's a huge expense, but
Does that price us out, or is that just in line with everybody
that's
else?
again in
Yeah.
line with everybody else. I mean, these are pretty marginal increases.
Does the driving range pay for itself?
It does, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're ahead in that category, so.
Okay, any other questions concerning this request?
Nope.
Okay, back to the husband or wife full membership. I'm going to suggest that we delete that and then approve the rest of the changes. And I'll make a motion to that extent.
Just to clarify, to delete the option entirely or to just leave
Delete
it?
the option entirely.
Okay,
I mean, you say you have nobody in there now.
right.
Yeah. This is not going to impact anybody. Is there a second, or is it time for a second?
I mean, I'll second that.
Yeah, I
If
don't.
there's no one in the
so.
category right now, we're not really hurting anybody, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion? Please call the roll, Abby.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes,
Mr. Emmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Westfall?
Yes.
Motion approved.
thank you. Okay. Next, we have the election of officers for 2022, in anticipation of the next year. Any discussion on that?
I, fine with kind of how the positions lie, so I don't know if anybody else has any opposition, but I'm okay to kind of renew our current positions for 2022.
I would agree with that.
Okay, is that, want to make a
I'll make a
motion?
motion to, I guess, renew the current positions for 2022.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Adopted. Okay. Do any of you have anything else to discuss in open session? Mayor, do you have anything you want to discuss or bring to the table?
I would just, as far as the discussion about the shoreline and the rental, that has been something that we've talked about in budget sessions several times. We've talked about advertisement, and if we're going to use that, we really have to do something to make it known that that is there. And we just have not pursued that. But if we're going to, it's going to take a concerted effort. Could be a staffing issue, too. If we're going to open that up for rentals, staffing could be an issue.
Sure.
So, but I'm all in favor. We have this facility. We ought to be advertising it and using it.
Right. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, we're going to go ahead and take a look at employee compensation. So I would move that we enter into executive session for the purpose of considering compensation to employees. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we're in executive session. Please turn off the recording.